Hello students, Callie Daniels here. In this video we are going to simplify some more radical expressions. If we are evaluating the nth root of a to the n, and n is an even positive integer, then the nth root of a to the n is equal to the absolute value of a. If n is an odd positive integer, then the nth root of a to the n is equal to a. Let's make some sense of this via an example. In classroom example 1, we're going to find each root. In part A, we've got the square root of z squared, which is the absolute value of z. Now, why is that? Well, let's think of maybe a couple of numbers here, okay? The square root of a positive number, say 3 squared, is the square root of 9, or 3, which gives the same number we started with, correct? But what if that is a negative 3, and we take the square root of negative 3 squared? Then that's the square root of 9, which is also a positive 3. So if these are an even index and an even power, then whether we substitute a positive or a negative number, it's going to, in return, be a positive outcome. So essentially, what's another way to achieve a positive outcome? That is via an absolute value. If in part B those are odd numbers and we've got the cube root of z to the third, then that is equal to exactly the number that we start with. And we don't have to use the absolute value symbol because what we put in is exactly what we get out. For example, if you have the cube root of a positive 3 to the third, that's the cube root of 27, or 3. What you put in is what came out. If we take the cube root of the quantity negative 3 to the third, that's the cube root of negative 27, which is negative 3, and what we put in is what came out. Notice that our outcome isn't always a positive 3 over here, is it? No. If you put in positive 3, you get out positive 3. If you put in a negative 3, you get out negative 3, which makes it different from part A with the even index and even power. In part C, that's the square root of z to the sixth. But I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of z to the third squared, so that we can see our index of 2 and our power of 2 and what it is that is going to be the result. Now, those are evens, so our outcome is the absolute value of z to the third. In part D, we've got the square root of r to the 8th, s to the 10th. And once again, let's take an intermediate step and write this as the square root of 81, r to the 4th quantity squared, and s to the 5th quantity squared, just so we can see exactly what is being squared. Now the square root of 81 is 9. The square root of r to the 4th squared is the absolute value of r to the 4th. And the square root of s to the 5th squared is the absolute value of s to the 5th. Now, this is a pretty good answer, but we're going to take one more step here because the absolute value of any number to the 4th is always going to be positive, so using the absolute value bars here is redundant. R to the 4th will be positive, and absolute value says, hey, make it positive, but it's already positive, so we can drop those absolute value bars in this instance and write this as 9r to the 4th times the absolute value of s to the 5th. In part E, that's the 4th root of negative 3 to the 4th. It's the absolute value of negative 3, or 3. And you could have just evaluated this one and said, negative 3 to the 4th is 81. 4th root of 81 is 3, isn't it? Part F, I want us to notice that the radicand is a perfect square trinomial, which factors as x minus 5 quantity squared. So we do have the square root of a quantity squared, and that's equal to the absolute value of that radicand, which in this case is an x minus 5. Let's look at our next page and consider some rules for radicals. Suppose that a and b represent real numbers, and m and n represent positive integers, for which the indicated roots are real numbers. So that means we're not going to be taking any square roots of negative quantities, for instance. Well, our product rule says that the nth root of a times the nth root of b is the nth root of a times b. In words, the product of two roots is the root of the product. The quotient rule says that the nth root of a quotient a over b is equal to the nth root of a over the nth root of b. Here we do have the restriction that our denominator is not equal to 0. The root of a quotient is the quotient of the roots. And lastly, a power rule. And hopefully this sort of reminds you of our rules for exponents, because that's pretty much exactly what we're doing here, okay? The power rule. The mth root of the nth root of a is the m times nth root of a. So we're just multiplying those indexes. In words, the index of the root of a root is the product of their indexes. That's kind of like saying power to a power multiply. Yeah, root of a root multiply. Well, let's make some sense of this. In classroom example 5, we're going to use the rules for radicals to perform the indicated operations. We're going to assume all variable expressions represent positive real numbers so that we can actually use the rules here, okay? The square root of 5 times the square root of 45, those are both square roots. So using the product rule, we can simply multiply the radicand values underneath. 5 times 45 is 225. And the square root of 225 is 15. And that's an equal symbol right there, not a minus, okay? Equal 15. In part B, notice that these are both fifth roots, and so we can multiply the radicand values. That's the fifth root of n to the third times n squared. Adding exponents, that's n to the fifth. And from our previous example, we know that the fifth root of n to the fifth is n. In part C, these are both cubed roots, therefore we can multiply the radicands. It's the cube root of, I'm going to go ahead and perform this multiplication. 4 times 21 is 84, and we've got an x squared y. And lastly here in part D, we're looking at our quotient rule. Okay, and the nth root of a quotient is the quotient of the roots. So we're just going to split this up and write it as the square root of 11 over the square root of 169. 11 is not a perfect square. We cannot take the square root of it. However, the square root of 169 is 13. So we're going to go ahead and take that square root and pull it out of there. And let's turn the page. Part E. Here we've got the sixth root of a over b to the 12th. And we can write this as the sixth root of a over the sixth root of b to the 12th. And I'm going to think of that b to the 12th as b squared to the 6th. The sixth root of a remains in the numerator. The denominator, we've got the sixth root of b squared to the 6th, which is b squared. Now, we were told that what? The variable expressions underneath represent positive real numbers. Therefore, you don't need to worry about any absolute value symbols here. But also, anything squared is always going to be positive anyway. So, 2 reasons we don't need an absolute value symbol. In part F, we've got a 5th root of a 4th root. If we multiply those indexes, we can write that as the 20th root of 17. In part G, that's a square root of a 6th root, and 2 times 6 is 12, so we can write this as a 12th root of 5. And lastly, in part H, we've got a cube root of 5 times a 4th root of 9, and those indexes are not the same, are they? And therefore, our product rule for radicals is not going to work in this case. So I'm just going to say that this is not possible. Using the product rule. And there we have some simplification of radicals.